Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery.
All right, so strap in, everybody, for a deep dive.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. Into the sometimes bumpy road of business agility. You know, we always talk about the success stories.
Right.
But today we're gonna flip the script and dissect a fascinating failure.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, one of our listeners sent in this case study about a company that was like laser focused on speeding up their time to market, you know?
Yeah.
Getting products out the door faster.
A holy grail.
Yeah, right. So they decided, hey, the solution is Agile. We're going all in on Agile methodology. But things did not go as planned.
That's how we learn.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the best lessons come from those stumbles. So picture this. You've got a company. They're so fixated on making individual teams agile that they kind of missed the forest for the trees.
Oh, I've seen that happen so many times. Like, they get so caught up in the micro, they completely miss the macro.
Right. And that's exactly what happened here. You know, they've got these intricate workflows, all these hidden dependencies, and then their decision-making process, it was moving at a glacial pace.
Now it's painful.
Yeah. So the big question is, what went wrong? And more importantly, what can all of us, you know, listening, learn from their mistakes to make our own work, our projects, even, you know, maybe even our whole organizations more agile and effective? So let's set the scene. We're talking about a company with like 600 IT employees.
Oh, that's a decent size.
Yeah. And they're investing like serious money into an 18-month agile transformation project.
18 months sounds a little waterfall-y for an agile transformation, don't you think?
Right. The irony is not lost on me.
Okay, good. Just checking.
But anyway, they're super excited about Scrum, Kanban, you know, all the buzzwords.
The agile bingo card?
Yeah, they were checking them all off. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. They did a lot of things right. Like, they really tried to prepare.
Really? Like what?
Well, they actually created cross-functional teams. They focused on specific product lines, visualized their work, had daily stand-ups, retrospectives. They even implemented metrics.
Metrics are good. We got to measure to improve.
Exactly. It seemed like they were on the right track.
So what happened? What's the twist?
Well, fast forward a year into this transformation, they do their initial review, and the results are shocking. Their time to market. It actually got worse. Projects were moving slower than in the pre-Agile days.
Oh, no. That's like the opposite of what they were going for.
Yeah. It's like the Agile paradox.
So the million-dollar question is, what went wrong?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to dig into right after the break. Stay with us.
Can't wait.
All right, so we've got this company. They're going all in on Agile, doing all the right things, at least on the surface. But their time to market is actually tanking.
Yeah, classic case of doing Agile, not being Agile.
Okay, so where did they go wrong? What were those missteps?
Well, you know, one of the first things that kind of jumps out is this idea that they could just form these cross-functional product teams.
Oh, yeah, they thought that would solve everything, right? Like, no more dependencies.
Exactly. Like, poof, dependency's gone.
Create these self-contained units that would just pump out perfect products.
Yeah, like little islands of productivity.
Each with their own, like, little sandbox to play in.
Right. But the reality of knowledge work, especially in, like, software development or complex products,
yeah,
it's just not that neat and tidy. You know?
No, it's messy. There's always going to be dependencies.
Always. And I bet when they actually mapped it out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was a tangled web. Like, despite their best intentions, the dependency graph showed all these intricate connections between teams leading to, you know, the bottlenecks, the delays.
The dreaded waiting on someone else column on the Kanban board.
Exactly. And they might have had that column, but they weren't really managing those dependencies, you know.
So it's not enough to just like acknowledge that dependencies exist. You have to have an actual system for dealing with them.
100%. Think of it like a city's transportation system.
Yeah.
You can have the fastest cars in the world, but if the roads are completely jammed, nobody's getting anywhere fast.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they were focused on making the individual cars, like the teams, really efficient.
Yeah.
But they forgot about the traffic flow, the dependencies between them.
Exactly. And this kind of leads into another crucial point. Their value stream, it was incomplete. They were so fixated on making the development teams agile.
Right. That was their main focus.
But they completely overlooked the bigger picture.
Yeah.
the whole flow of work, from idea to actually delivering value to the customer.
So they were speeding up one part of the process while other parts were still stuck in, like, first gear.
Exactly. It's like having a super efficient kitchen,
Okay. I like where this is going.
but then just a single super slow cashier at the checkout.
Doesn't matter how fast you cook the food.
Nope.
If everyone's stuck in line waiting to pay.
Exactly. And you know what? To make matters even worse.
Oh, there's more?
Oh yeah. Their decision-making processes upstream. They were like incredibly slow. Like they would have these massive, infrequent meetings to evaluate ideas, approve projects.
Bureaucracy at its finest.
Oh, it was painful. Sometimes these meetings would happen like monthly or even yearly.
Seriously, a year to get a
It
decision.
was rough. Imagine trying to, I don't know, steer a speedboat,
Okay.
but you can only adjust the rudder like once a month.
That's not very agile.
Not at all. So they had these two major problems, right? This traffic jam downstream and then this frozen steering wheel upstream.
Yeah, no wonder they were running into trouble.
Total recipe for disaster. And here's where things get really interesting. They were diligently using WIP limits at the team level.
Okay, that's a good thing.
It is, in theory.
Yeah.
But they missed a really crucial piece of the puzzle.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What were they missing?
They were limiting tasks and stories in progress, which is fine.
Yeah.
But they should have been limiting the initiatives, the big picture projects, at the strategic portfolio level.
So they were micromanaging at the team level,
Mm-hmm.
but not looking at the overall flow of work coming into the system.
Exactly. It's like they had all these fast cars, right?
The efficient teams.
Yep. But they were letting way too many cars onto the highway all at once.
Creating a massive traffic jam.
100%. So the question is, how do you stop the highway from getting overloaded in the first place?
Right. Do you need, like, a traffic cop?
Think more like an air traffic controller.
Okay.
And this is where the flight levels model comes in.
Oh, light levels? Okay. I've heard of this, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the details. Break it down for me.
All right. So imagine you're looking at the company from above, like you're in an airplane.
Okay.
At the lowest level, we have flight level 1. This is the operational level. The team's doing the day-to-day work.
Okay, so, like, visualizing tasks, using those WIP limits we talked about, having feedback loops, the nuts and bolts of Agile.
Exactly. Now, as we ascend, we get to flight level 2. Our perspective widens. Here, we're focused on coordinating the work across different teams within a value stream.
Okay, so flight level 1 is like fine-tuning the engines of the airplane, and flight level 2 is making sure all those engines are working together to, actually propel the plane forward.
Precisely. And at this level, we're talking about things like product boards to visualize those dependencies between teams, regular feedback loops, and metrics that actually track the flow of work through the entire value stream.
Right, because even with perfectly tuned engines, you still need someone in the cockpit making sure the plane is heading in the right direction.
Exactly. And that, my friend, is where flight level 3 comes in. Strategic portfolio management.
Okay, so this is the big picture stuff.
The big picture. Looking at the entire portfolio of initiatives that the company's undertaking, making sure they're actually aligned with the strategy, prioritizing based on their potential impact, and, crucially, limiting the number of initiatives in progress at any given time.
So this flight levels model, it's like a framework for understanding agility at different altitudes within the company. But how did our company actually apply this model to solve those problems we talked about?
Well, let's start with those pesky dependencies. Remember how they were trying to create those like isolated, self-sufficient product teams?
Yeah, the sandbox approach.
Right. Well, they finally realized that just wasn't realistic.
So instead of pretending dependencies didn't exist, they needed a way to manage them.
Exactly. And they started by really embracing this idea that collaboration is key. They created product boards that actually visualize the dependencies between teams working on the same product.
So they finally got everyone on the same page, literally.
Yes. But they went beyond just visualization. They implemented feedback loops, like regular product stand-up meetings, cross-team retrospectives, to make sure everyone was communicating and identifying potential bottlenecks early on.
So it's like air traffic control, constantly monitoring and adjusting to prevent those mid-air collisions.
Precisely. And they didn't stop there. They realized they couldn't just focus on making development agile if the rest of the value stream was stuck in slow motion.
Right. They had to extend that runway for a smoother landing.
Exactly. So they started by visualizing the entire end-to-end value stream, bringing all those hidden steps out of the open and getting everyone involved in the conversation.
Transparency is a powerful tool.
Oh, absolutely. Once they had that shared understanding of the process, they could start identifying bottlenecks and finding ways to optimize the flow. And they tackled those slow-moving decision-making processes upstream by simplifying steps and increasing the frequency of decision points. Instead of requiring a detailed business case for every idea, they moved to a more iterative approach.
So more like a series of agile sprints rather than one long, drawn-out marathon.
Exactly. And this had a huge impact on their time to market. They were able to get ideas flowing through the system much faster and adapt to changes more readily. And this shift in thinking, this focus on the whole value stream, it really helped them address those misplaced WIP limits we talked about earlier. They realized they needed to get upper management involved in the agile transformation.
So they finally brought the agile mindset to the folks in the cockpit.
Yes, we worked with them to create a strategy board that visualized all the initiatives in progress, linking them to the company's strategy and business metrics. This board helped them track progress, make more informed decisions about which initiatives to prioritize, and most importantly, limit the number of initiatives in progress at any given time.
So they finally had a way to manage the flow of work at the highest level, ensuring that they weren't starting more initiatives than they could realistically handle.
Precisely. And this shift to strategic portfolio management had a profound impact on their agility and overall success. But I guess the question is, did they actually achieve their initial goal?
Yeah.
Did they finally see that elusive time-to-market improvement they were after?
Well, that's a story for after the break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so they tackled those dependencies, got their value stream flowing smoothly, and even brought upper management into the agile fold. But the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? Did they finally see that elusive time-to-market improvement?
They did, and the results were, well, pretty remarkable, actually. Remember how their time to market was actually worse after that initial attempt at agile transformation?
Yeah, it was like they went in the wrong direction.
Right. Well, after implementing all these changes, the dependencies, the value stream, the portfolio management, they were completing initiatives, on average, 7 months faster.
7 months. Wow, that's cutting it by more than half. So did they actually quantify what that meant in terms of, actual cost savings?
Oh, yeah, they did. They calculated what's called their cost of delay. Basically, how much money they were losing for each day a project was delayed. By reducing their time to market so drastically, they estimated they were saving around 10 million euros per year.
10 million euros. That's not just pocket change. That's serious money going straight to the bottom line.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And the positive impact wasn't just limited to, cost savings. Remember how their revenue growth was stuck between 2 and 4% before the transformation?
Yeah, they were barely keeping their heads above water.
Well, in the past 2 years, it's jumped to around 25%.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic turnaround. From barely keeping up to exceeding expectations.
It really is. And it wasn't just about the numbers either. They saw a significant cultural shift within the company.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
Well, for one thing, the silos started breaking down. People from different departments were actually collaborating, like really collaborating more effectively. And there was this renewed sense of shared purpose.
Sounds like they were finally working as a cohesive unit instead of a bunch of separate parts.
Exactly. And the employees, they felt more empowered, more engaged. They could see how their efforts directly impacted the company's success, which, really boosted morale and led to even more innovation.
So they had happier employees, a more collaborative culture, and some seriously impressive financial gains. It sounds like they really hit it out of the park with this transformation. Anything else they achieved that's worth highlighting?
Well, their market capitalization more than doubled. It went from 3.4 billion to 7.1 billion euros. It's a pretty compelling example of how embracing true business agility can translate into, tangible bottom line value.
It's not just a feel-good buzzword, it's a strategic advantage.
100%. And it's important to remember that, agility, it's not a one-time project, it's a journey of continuous learning and improvement.
It's not about reaching a destination, it's about developing those skills and that mindset to adapt and thrive in a world that's constantly changing.
And this company, they really got that. They didn't just implement some agile methods and call it a day. They created a culture of continuous improvement, constantly looking for ways to refine their processes and deliver even more value to their customers.
Their story is, I think it's a really great reminder that even when agile transformations, stumble a bit, there's always an opportunity to course correct and achieve some pretty remarkable results. It's about having the humility to acknowledge those mistakes, the willingness to adapt, and the commitment to keep learning and evolving. So for our listeners out there who are, navigating their own agile journeys, what are some key takeaways from this deep dive?
I think the biggest lesson here is that business agility, it's a holistic endeavor. It's not just about implementing Scrum or Kanban. It's about shifting mindsets, breaking down silos, and creating a culture where everyone is empowered to contribute to the company's success. It's about seeing that big picture, understanding how all the pieces fit together, and constantly looking for ways to optimize that flow of value.
And never forgetting the why behind the what. Don't get so caught up in the mechanics of Agile that you lose sight of those underlying principles and the ultimate goal, delivering value to your customers. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we challenge you to think about your own work, your own organization. What changes could you make to become more agile? Could focusing on outcomes instead of just outputs be the key to unlocking your true potential? That's something to ponder as you continue on your agile journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.
See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.